This is a quick tutorial on how to use Prodemand. Prodemand is a online repair resource that we can find thousands of different vehicles and their related diagnostic information. This is the login screen. You'll notice here the login button is up here on the left. When you log in, the site website is prodemand.com. You go ahead and hit login. Now, one note I wanted to make about that password is please make sure you only use it on campus. We have licenses to use this only in the Austin building for doing vehicle repairs. They can track our IP addresses and where the service is being used. So please make sure you just use it on campus appropriately. So once we have this here, we've come to our home page. We'll want to select the vehicle that we're going to be working on. There are a couple different options. You can either first go to vehicle history, where if the vehicle has been previously looked up, you can actually go in here and select the vehicle and save yourself some time in building the actual vehicle. Another option would be actually to enter in the VIN number and have that VIN lookup be used to select the vehicle, which is often nice. The last one is to do a manual selection, which is probably the one that you'll use most often. For this particular one, I'll just use a 2007 GMC Sierra with a 6-liter engine. You'll notice here that the option comes up for submodel. This is Annotation GM uses to determine whether the vehicle can handle is classified as a half-ton pickup, a 3/4 ton pickup, or a full 1-ton pickup. For this particular one, we'll just use the half-ton. We'll select that. We'll go to the engine code. The engine code is basically the production model of the engine that's being used in the vehicle. GM uses this as well. Some of the other manufacturers use this. You can find this code for GM in the glove box many times on what they call the RPO code list, or it's the production option code list. You'll look in there. There's a series of 3-digit codes that you can correspond to the engine that you have. We'll use the L76 on this particular vehicle. It is an extra cab. It's a 4-wheel drive. It has the automatic transfer case. This one only comes with automatic transmission. It's got this transmission code and transmission manufacturer CD. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and those are all the options. We're going to use this vehicle. The next thing you'll see is it comes up with Prodemand uses this feature where they actually analyze and look at common problems, common repairs, common codes that come up on this particular vehicle, common symptoms, top lookups for different things. I want to go ahead and just advise you to ignore this right off. Sometimes this can take you and get you off on the wrong track pretty quickly. So what I want you to do is go over to the search bar here on the top left and go through, and you'll notice there's several categories. We can look at estimate guide, quotes, maintenance, component search, vehicle reference, SureTrack, which is a repair database, and vintage. So if it's before 1974, you will not be able to look up your vehicle using this traditional method. But I want you to go right here to the vehicle reference. On this, when you click on this, it brings up a table of contents of different areas you can search to find the relevant repair information and relevant diagnostic information that you'll need to repair the vehicle correctly and understand how the system works that you're working on. So let's go to engine performance, just for example. There are 3 different categories. We can look at emissions, look at diesel, not diesel, different abbreviations, different things like that. We can look at specifications, meaning what is the firing order on this vehicle? How does the cylinder deactivate? How are the cylinders ID'd? So is the number 1 cylinder on the driver's side, on the passenger side, different things like that. We click on that, and it actually brings us up a 8-cylinder engine. We want to look at the engine that applies to us. So all other V8 engines, look at this, we can have our firing order, and it gives us an idea of where the cylinders are. So this can be a really handy thing. Let's come back here to the other areas. Testing and diagnosis is probably going to be the area that you go to most. Here we have all these different areas. We can look at engine controls and fuel, engine controls, fuel troubleshooting, diagnosis and troubleshooting. Basically, this is kind of giving a description of how these different systems work. This kind of tells us how to diagnose certain things. These give us DTC references and lists of DTCs that we can select. We're just going to go to the introduction, the first one, and see what we can find. Diagnostic starting point, it can tell us, okay, it walks you through how to look at some certain things. It gives us some information on scan tool information, what you might expect to see. When you're looking at a scan tool, it'll give you different parameters and what you might expect to see as far as your typical data values. Okay. Engine troubleshooting, let's look at that one. Now we have a whole bunch of different things. We have, maybe you have a symptom that you're struggling with. Maybe you say, well, symptom description. Do we have a certain problem? Do we have a backfire? Do we have a cuts out and misses? Do we have poor fuel economy? Different things like that. So this is kind of a good reference to kind of give you an idea of where to look to describe some different things. And it tells us how different systems work on this particular vehicle. Let's go back here to diagnosis and troubleshooting again. Again, it gives these same different indexes. Now, let's say you have a specific code. We could say maybe we have a P0301, which is a misfire on cylinder 1. We're going to search that. Now you'll notice it brings us up a whole list of different things to look at. You have to pay attention to make sure that you're selecting the vehicle with the correct engine build. Okay, so we had a 6-liter. It still brought us up the ability to look at engines with a 4.3. Okay, but we want, here's one that has the 4.8, 5.3, and the 6-liter. So we're going to select that. And this is going to bring us up with a list of information that relates to that trouble code. So for example, it says, has a list of DTCs P0300 through 308, which our code fits into that category. It will give us a tip on, these are little things that you can look on. These are posted by other technicians in the industry. It says, it gives you an idea of maybe a similar problem this technician had with this code, and might give you some good input. We can look at all the different comments that are related to this. Okay, sometimes these are great, sometimes they're not so great. You have to kind of use that judgment. We give us a DTC description. Okay, what causes these codes to set? Conditions for running the DTC. So it says the engine speed has to be between these RPM range, what it's looking for on the voltage scale. All these different things that can really help you in determining what has to happen for that code to set. Okay, we get into conditions for setting the DTC, what happens when the DT sets, how to clear the code, some different diagnostic information, reference information. Look at this, we can find our engine control schematics. These are all the schematics you might need to reference to see how the ignition system is wired, okay, for the different features. So there's all kinds of endless resources here that we can look at. Circuit verification, some different testing we can do. So there's countless numbers of things. It just takes practice to go through and navigate through this. It can be a little bit overwhelming, but if you use this search bar inside of the table of contents, it can help narrow down that search and make it so it's not so daunting. Again, your initial testing needs to be narrowed down to a specific system. So maybe you have a ref idle concern. We need to narrow that down to, is it caused by a fuel system problem? Is it caused by a mechanical concern? Is it caused by ignition system? We need to figure out what that is with our initial diagnosis, using a scan tool, using our system test to determine what we need to do to repair this vehicle. One other thing I wanted to mention, we also have common specs and procedures on this list. These specification indexes will give us the ability to find out what some of our common specs are. For example, we might have refrigerant system capacities. that will tell us how much refrigerant we need. It may even tell us the oil pressure specs. It can tell us how much different bolts should be torqued to, different things like that. So go through, you can use this. It takes practice. Navigate through. Again, use the vehicle reference when you come into this to go to search. It makes life a little bit easier in trying to find the information.